I was floored. Pretty much everybody I talked to said, oh, me too. And here's what happened. And I was like, really? And then I got more brave and I told more people about what was going on with me. And they said, oh, me too. Oh my gosh. And I had this happen and that happened. And now I'm beginning to realize nobody wants to really talk about it because it's a disgusting, embarrassing thing to talk about.
Finally, get back to a life with exercise. And this is your first step. We're going to start getting you moving. I'm Lindbergh, your bad couch guru.
Well, hello there and welcome to the Couch to Active podcast. This is Bad Couch Guru Lynn speaking from the official Velvet Couch. I've been hearing rumors that my couch might be hacking into my podcast and actually producing episodes on my behalf. So if you've heard any of those, let me know about them. I've just had some reports come in saying, you've got these interesting episodes up there, Lynn, by the couch. And I'm not quite sure what folks are talking about, but just for the record, I love my couch. It's wonderful. My dog loves it. He's running all around it all the time. And the couch is actually where I do all the recording from for the Couch to Active podcast. Take a look. I hear rumors that there's short episodes that are 2 and 3 minutes long that are actually not by me, but by my couch. Not quite sure what that means, but go check it out. How y'all doing today? Are you good? Really, truly ask yourself, how are you right now today? And I really wish you were on the other half of my couch here with me because I'm looking over there and there's nobody there. But I know you're here with me. And I know sometimes life is great and a lot of times life is just really tough. And that's what today's podcast is about, is I'm realizing that I have alluded to and mentioned a lot of times different health issues that I've been dealing with and realized that I have never actually sat down and said to all y'all, hey, here's actually the details of what I deal with day to day in my personal life with health issues that get in the way of exercise, that make exercise motivation more difficult than the average person, that make it harder for me to overcome and get out and continue my active lifestyle every single day. And the reason this episode is important to me today is not to say, oh, poor me, I've got all these health issues going and I want you all to feel sorry for me. Of course not. And I know you already know that. You already know this is not a podcast about whining about Lynn. But what I do hope is that you leave with some nuggets for yourself of inspiration and hope, knowing that, yeah, sometimes it is hard, but you're not alone. You're not the only one struggling with these big barriers. And really my goal is by the end of this, you will feel jazzed and excited after hearing all about my health issues. I know, kind of weird. But before we dive right into that, we had an iTunes review come in from the Investor Boy, also calls himself Steven from Denver. 5-star review. Steven says, Lynn is incredible. If you're ready to make a real change in your life to get back to an active lifestyle full of energy and vitality, then you're going to want to listen to Couch to Active. She does an incredible job of synthesizing and simplifying everything we need to know. Keep it up. Steven from Denver. Steven, thank you very much for that. I actually met Steven at an event just this week, and he apparently listened to the podcast and left us a review. So Steven, thank you for that. And thank you to all of you for listening to Couch to Active. You already know that this is the podcast where I believe exercise should not be dreadful, but getting off the couch is the hardest thing we do. Okay, let's dive into the real content of this. And I feel myself hesitating just a little bit because I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm going to tell them all about my medical issues, but medical issues are protected by law and we keep them secrets, and there's HIPAA regulations and all kinds of things. And I'm just going to tell everybody what's going on in my health issues. And you know what? I don't care. I decided I have to choose to not care because at an even deeper level, I believe that this will be helpful and encouraging to you. In a nutshell, I have 3 things going on with my health, and we know our bodies are interconnected and it's all related somehow, right? The first one is my entire life, I've always been a slow runner. And it's been really frustrating to me as a type A, get it done, work hard, and you can always be the best kind of person. Being the slowest in the pack when it comes to running has always been really frustrating and really a blow to my ego. And when I was in my 20s and 30s, I didn't want to admit that it was a blow to my ego. I just stuffed it and pretend it wasn't there. But I literally would get the Couch to 5K running training program, which is different from Couch to Active. Couch to 5K, great program. Essentially what it is it says on day 1, do this amount of walking. On day 2, do this amount of walking and jogging. And it slowly over weeks and months progresses you from being sedentary on the couch to being able to actually jog a 5K. Fabulous program. Hundreds of thousands of people have used this before. You can Google it right now, Couch to 5K running program, and download it for free. I trained by that program over and over and over again. And guess what? I could never keep up with it. And I took good care of myself and I followed it and I didn't cheat and I was disciplined and I had the grit, and it was always frustrating for me to do that. And still, no matter what I did or how hard I worked, I came in the back half of the pack, usually more like the back 25% of the pack. And I used to tie my ego to that. And I used to actually be embarrassed by that. And I used to have some sense of shame. And I hated the fact that results were published publicly online because I was afraid somebody would look at it to see how good or bad I was. And that mindset was just so wrong. It wasn't until years and years later, as I got older, that I started to look at my health a lot more closely, and my lungs were starting to bother me more, that I went in and I actually got diagnosed with asthma. And I thought, oh my gosh, no wonder why this is so hard. I have a mild form of asthma. You're like, oh my gosh. So I was excited. I had this diagnosis and I had different meds I was trying to recover from it and get better. And I went through, no joke, 5 years of different asthma treatments, medications, all kinds of stuff. And if you have asthma, you know this is a long journey of maybe it's the food you're eating, maybe it's the environment you're in, maybe it just is a never-ending rat hole of things you can chase down for asthma. I ended up so frustrated at the end of 5 years with no real progress that I eventually, against the word of my doctor, and I do not recommend doing this, I just took myself off all of my asthma meds and nothing changed. And I said, hey, I took myself off all of my asthma meds and guess what? I feel the very same. Nothing's changed. And so they just scratched their head and they said, that's really interesting. Maybe you don't have asthma. And I thought, you have got to be kidding. What do you mean? I was diagnosed with asthma 5 years ago and now you're saying maybe I don't have asthma? And sure enough, there is a test where you can definitively prove if you don't have asthma that they put me through. And sure enough, I don't have asthma. So I put my arms up in the air and I thought, oh my gosh. So what we do know is compared to a normal person my age, I'm missing about 30% of my lung function. So for somebody with normal lungs, you could essentially say, take a hospital mask, put it on your face and live like that for your whole life. Run a marathon with it, go jogging, go walking, do any kind of an exercise, but do it all with a hospital mask over your face. That's essentially the experience that I live with 24/7. But for me, I don't know any different or I don't know any better. So that just feels normal. I can't imagine what it would feel like to have another 30% of my lung function. It would probably be fabulous. So that's number one that keeps me slow and makes it harder for me to get out there and exercise. And I'll share with you what I do with that after we go through these other two. And number two is a recent diagnosis that came up for me. And what was happening with me is I started sleeping more and more, and I had these weird sensations of my skin hurting my joints hurting. When I leaned over to get anything out of the washing machine, it hurt my knees. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've got arthritis, or oh my gosh, I've got something bad going on. And 8 o'clock at night would come around, or 7 o'clock at night would come around, and I would just pass out, fall asleep. There was nothing you could do to keep me awake. And I would sleep all night long for 10 or 12 hours and wake up tired the next morning and just feel awful all day long, every day. Fast forward to diagnosis time, we discovered through a lot of trial and error and a whole lot of lab work and a whole lot of tests that we believe I have what is called fibromyalgia. And essentially it's what I described. It's constant chronic pain that goes from feeling fairly normal to feeling like I have 104-degree fever, but I have no fever. I just feel horrible. So about a year ago when I got this diagnosis, I'm a huge advocate of solving things as naturally as possible, trying to get to root cause. Is it how I eat? Is it my hydration? Is it the dust in the house? Is it, going through that whole race? So before I got on any meds, I spent months solving for this as best as I could. And I was able to actually heal much of my fibromyalgia symptoms simply by changing my diet, my stress, my hydration, and my mental state. Because fibromyalgia, a big piece that they're looking at, is it a causation or correlation thing with fibromyalgia, is a lot of the people who have fibromyalgia also have trauma in their past. They have times in their life when they've had severe chronic stress or severe trauma, or things happen. And my story has not been all roses and rainbows. It's been a tremendous amount of trials and difficulties and chronic stress. So I completely don't want to admit it, but I fit right exactly perfectly into that bucket. So anyhow, I was able to heal that a lot naturally. And then at the end of doing all that and getting about as good as I could, then I was able to layer on a couple of medications that have helped me tremendously. And I've gone from being almost pretty much dysfunctional, being able to work for about 4 hours a day, to being able to have a pretty normal life. The joke around the house, which is actually not a really funny joke, is, yay, Mom didn't take a nap for 3 days in a row. She's doing great. So that's fibromyalgia, number 2. And then number 3 that came up this fall, I'm just going to tell you what it is. And then if you want the TMI version, you can just go Google it and learn about it. But it is collagenous colitis. And there's all different kinds of colitis, which are brought on for all different kinds of reasons. It's a very misdiagnosed, misunderstood thing, but essentially it's the GI tract going wonky, wacky, crazy on you. And all kinds of things happening that as women, we don't like to talk about at all. And let me tell you, when I had this going on, a couple things happen. One, no matter how much water and electrolytes you pound, you get really dehydrated. Number 2, it really puts a cramp on your lifestyle. Let me tell you. I actually had to reschedule a business trip twice. I missed all kinds of things. It was awful. I didn't even like to talk about it because it's embarrassing, because it's awful, because it's just a thing for our health that as ladies especially, we don't like to talk about. But I found that the most interesting thing to me is I slowly got the guts to share with some of my dearest, closest friends what was going on with me and my GI stuff. I'll just call it that. Use your imagination. Your imagination is probably worse than reality. I don't know. Maybe not. And I was floored. Pretty much everybody I talked to said, oh, me too. And here's what happened. And I was like, really? And then I got more brave and I told more people about what was going on with me. And they said, oh, me too. Oh my gosh. And I had this happen and that happened. And now I'm beginning to realize and think pretty much all of us have gut issues, but nobody wants to really talk about it because it's a disgusting, embarrassing thing to talk about. So I am coming out here to all y'all, opening my kimono and telling you about what I'm dealing with and hoping you will also be kind and compassionate to me, because it's just not a pretty thing to deal with. So I have to laugh or I will cry, or I don't know. It's the nervous laugh coming out. Those are my 3 things that I have going on that I know of. And I have gone from 4 years ago where I could very slowly run half marathons. And I did. I've run tons of half marathons. I've done century bike rides. I've done more than 10 triathlons, always slow, but I've always really enjoyed it. I've gone from being able to do that to now today, even with maintaining my active lifestyle, even with me getting out and exercise, even with me preaching on this microphone to everybody, how to stay positive and have an active lifestyle, I can't run 5 minutes. And if I have a really big physical day, it knocks me out and I have to be really careful. Now, with that said, I am absolutely convinced that my dedication to staying active and doing what I can has probably saved me from being pretty much completely disabled and not being able to do anything at all. My dogged determination to always figure out, what do I love to do? What can I do? And to do that consistently, I believe, is saving my spirit and is saving my life and is giving me so much more health than I probably even realize. And so I'm really, really, really grateful for that. And I'm just so grateful that my life is all about helping people keep moving and mobile. And I had no idea how much that would become such a challenge in my own life. I have times when the fibromyalgia and the GI issues both hit at the same time, and I will have literally a couple of days where I pretty much sleep 20 hours a day, and I'm in pain and I'm laying in bed and I hurt and I can't take ibuprofen. I can't take anything like that because that triggers the colitis in a big way. And so I deal with it. And when I have those days where it just hurts and hurts for days, it's dark and it feels, I hate to even say the words out loud, but it feels hopeless. And it's this really weird thing where in my head, I know that in a few days or a couple of days, I'll snap out of it and I'll start feeling better. But in the moment, the pain hurts enough that it is really almost impossible to just flip a switch and rise above it. What's worked for me is to give myself compassion and just allow myself to ride the wave. And when I'm feeling the pain and it all hurts and I have no idea when it's going to end, I can't fight it. I just have to ride it and just do what I know I can do to care for myself so physically I can come out of it, which will also help me mentally come out of it. Those days are hard and those days are dark. And you never see me social media post about them. You never see me like, oh, hello, everybody. Today's a horrible day. I'm in bed and I just feel really hopeless and dark. You don't see me post like that because, one, I don't even want to admit that's true in my life sometimes. I want to pretend it's not there because that's not who I want to be. That's not what I want to be. That's not how I identify as a human. And two, I'm in pain. I'm asleep. I'm not even on my phone. And the reason I bring this up and the reason it's important is because as I've shared more about what I'm dealing with, I have learned and been amazed at how everybody else is dealing with things, and everybody else has all kinds of health issues, even worse than me. And I don't know it and I don't see it because we don't put it on social media, or maybe we do a couple of times a year, but not enough to really paint a picture of reality. The reason I share all of this for y'all is because I feel it's really, really important that you walk away with 3 things for yourself. Number 1, feel sorry for me. Number 2, send me chocolates and flowers. And no, I'm just kidding. No, here's the 3 things that I want you to walk away with from this. And then I'll sum it up into one thing altogether. Number 1, you already know this. Listen to your body. Give yourself the gift of listening to your body. What's happening right now? Are you thirsty? Are you sitting on your foot and your foot's falling asleep? Do you have back pain? What's going on with you? Pause and listen to your body and pay attention to it, and then relentlessly pursue finding answers for what's going on with your body right now, today. The reason this is important is because we get busy, and our generation has really been trained to ignore pain, push it aside, and not even really realize it's there. I want you to flip that on its head and start taking care of your body. And that starts with listening to it. And if you feel something weird going on, you are not crazy. And don't let anybody tell you it's all in your head. Don't let yourself tell you it's all in your head. Listen to your body. That's number one. Number two, don't be normal. Like, what? Number two, don't be normal. Our sense of normal is so messed up. Our normal way of eating hurts us, and we are all getting chronic health issues. We are all suffering because of it. We are all going to be not thriving as well as we could because of what is normal for us in the way that we eat. And the more I learn, the more stories I hear of people over and over again, the more I begin to realize healthy eating is actually a really radical concept. And what we consider normal is not good for our bodies at all. So that's number two. Really look at not being normal when it comes to exercise and when it comes to eating. And the number three thing I want you to take away is have compassion for yourself and have compassion for others who mention chronic illnesses and mention things they have going on. And be open-minded. Be completely non-judgmental. When you hear somebody talk about an ache and a pain or something going on in their life, I am learning that most folks who have severe chronic illnesses tend to actually be very quiet about their illness. Not all of them, but most of them tend to be really quiet about it, because usually what happens when you bring up an illness is people start coming to you with all kinds of advice that you've already looked at. People start trying to tell you how to fix you, or people start judging you and your lifestyle and your life choices, and it just becomes easier to shut up and be quiet about it. But the problem there is then we have a massive, I'm seeing, silent community of people suffering from chronic illnesses who are suffering alone, simply because our culture isn't compassionate enough. And we say, if you're going to exercise, you've got to be able to run, or you've got to be able to do this fitness class, or you've got to be able to work out hard, or you've got to be able to lift this amount of weight, or it's not worth it. And we just need to take all of that and erase the whole chalkboard and pause and say, wait a minute. The number of people who have chronic illnesses where normal doesn't work for them is not the minority. It is the majority. And so we all need to pause and realize nobody's alone. We're all in this together. Even the rare diseases, there's, hundreds and thousands of people who have them. Nobody's alone. There's no reason to be silent about this. There's no reason to be scared of somebody who has this. It just is what it is, and it's not okay, but it's okay. Which goes to my quote I always tell myself: even on the days when I don't feel well, I can be well. Even on the days when I don't feel well, I can be well. If you were sitting here with me and had the opportunity to tell me about what's going on with you and your chronic illness, I would reach across and give you a hug, wish you the best, give you compassion. And if there's any way we could find some way to laugh about it and make it light, I would do that too, because we need to laugh about these things or we will go crazy. And I would reassure you that you're not alone. I'm right there with you. Even though you see me online wearing my spandex, talking about active lifestyle, talking about all the exercise that I do, I'm right there with you. All I'm doing is the best that I can do every day, and then honoring my body on the tough days and giving my body the rest and recovery it needs on the days that it needs it. That is success. Alrighty, friends, I hope you got a lot out of that podcast. I hope it inspired you to be more bold and brave about talking about your chronic illnesses. And I hope it inspired you to be more aware of the fact that there is so many chronic illnesses out there. One thing I do want to share with you is most all of my clients of the Couch to Active program have had some kind of compelling event that makes exercise more difficult than just being busy. And that's why you don't really hear me talk too much about how busy we are to exercise. It's bigger than that. If that's you, if that resonates, please head over to couchtoactive.com. I have some resources for you. The first one, if you don't already, you need to get the book Couch to Active. You can get that on my website if you want it signed, or you can get it on Amazon if you'd like it delivered Prime in 2 days. Get the book. It will walk you through the program. Another resource, if you are looking for more of a social connection, something a little more laid back, we have Cactive Club that meets on the first day of every month online. And essentially it's a support group where we, in a very lighthearted and meaningful, deep way, we support each other in our active lifestyle through the challenges that we're having. The third resource for you is my coaching one-on-one with me. So head over to couchtoactive.com, www.couchtoactive, that's the letter T, the letter O, active.com, and check out the resources there. Very soon, I have a brand new resource coming on board that is titled How to Start Exercising Again. And this is the resource that you need to do before you join a gym, before you hire a trainer, before you get another set of DVD jazzercise programs where you're doing workouts in your living room. You need to do this program first called How to Start Exercising Again. And essentially it answers that question of what is really going on, because joining a gym is easy. Getting to the gym consistently, that's hard. And so this program helps you dissect what is actually happening in your life that makes keeping that commitment near impossible for you, and how can you start your next steps of conquering that. So that I'm very excited about. You definitely want to do that. If you're thinking of joining a gym, hang on, wait for another week until that program is up and available for you. How to Start Exercising Again. It's coming soon. Thank you for listening to the Couch to Active podcast, where I believe exercise should not be dreadful, but getting off the couch is the hardest exercise we do. Bye-bye now.